Hello everybody, and welcome along to today's video. At the time of recording this, it is currently the 4th of June, and if you know what happens on the 4th of June, you'll of course know that the announcement trailer for Project Cars 3 was released. Now, this is not going to be a reaction video because I've already seen the trailer. I was a little bit too excited this morning, and I just wanted to watch it. So what this is actually going to be is this is going to be a trailer breakdown, where we, have a look at a few shots from the game, and then I will sort of go through my thoughts and feelings about each of these. So we'll get into it. And well, what is interesting to note is that the first shots of this game of the trailer are of roads or like back roads and stuff. And well, the first shot of any car that we get in the game is of the Mercedes-AMG GT-R. And what you might notice immediately is that this game doesn't really seem to be bringing anything new graphically to the table. It actually just looks like Project Cars 3, Project Cars 2, or maybe a DLC for Project Cars 2. What happens then is the Mercedes and eventually an Acura NSX start racing on these roads, and this is something that we see a lot in sort of games like Forza Horizon, Forza Motorsport, even well, not so much Forza Motorsport because they don't race on open roads, and mainly games like Grid, which are sim-cades. And because there's such an emphasis put on this, it leads us to believe that perhaps this is a sim-cade game and not a sim game, which is not something that we want, because that's why we like Project Cars 2. Now, what I don't like is how the Mercedes gets spun by the Acura. Now, obviously that's not proper sim racing etiquette, and it's something that you see a lot in simcade games and sort of open world road games, which is concerning. I don't quite like the way that was done, but maybe that was more of an artistic thing to get the car to sort of spin into the next shot, which is the customization stuff. Now, again, you're getting simcade vibes from this because customization is more of something that's done in simcade games. And again, we haven't seen a single race car by this point. And in Project Cars 2, basically the only thing that you could customize car-wise was the setup. But now you get to customize the road cars, which I guess is a good thing because, on the road car front in previous Project Cars games, there wasn't really anything going on, but then again, that's not really what we were playing. But maybe that's just to get some new fans on board in the series. But again, it gives off simcade vibes. Then it cuts to some shots of night racing around a fictional street circuit instead of a real street circuit, might I add. And it shows off some new cars, which is cool. It shows that there's a wide variety of road cars in the game. It shows, of course, the shot of the cars going under this blue lit bridge of the Mercedes that we saw earlier, and the Acura. They're racing amongst the new Porsche 911 992 generation Carrera. The Mercedes is also next to the Chevy Camaro, which I think is coming over from the last game as well. We also have a Dodge Challenger, which I don't think was in the last game as well. It's obviously next to a Nissan GT-R, and I think leading the pack, if I can just see, is a Jaguar F-Type, and I think it's next to an Alpine A110, which is a nice little car to have in the game. I wouldn't actually mind driving that, to be honest. But again, they're racing around this fictional street circuit, which is a characteristic we see a lot in simcade games like Grid, and not really something we see in a Project Cars game, which is a sim thing. And again, bear in mind, we are now a minute into the trailer, and we have not seen a single race car. That is very different from the old Project Cars 2 trailer. It was a balance of race cars and road cars, and it gave the sense that yes, this is a sim game, but it also has road cars in the game. But then, of course, finally we do get some racing action, and we cut to the Mercedes-AMG GT3, which is making its return from the last game, racing alongside an Acura NSX GT3, which is good to see them back. But the fact that they've opened on these cars and not really any new GT3 cars begs the question if there's actually been anything added to the GT3 field, which is actually the most popular class probably in Project Cars 2. So they do need to deliver on the GT3 field. But that's more of a point that we'll explore a little bit later. So that's nice to have Interlagos in the game. I actually said that it was in my top 10 tracks that need to be in Project Cars 3 list, and a lot of people said, oh, you got it right, which is a nice feeling. I like, actually, I said it was I had it in the top 10 list, and it did actually make the game, so that's quite nice. Then what you do notice is the cars going into the first couple of corners. You'll notice that there are quite a few new GT4 cars. The Chevy Camaro GT4 is now in the game for the first time. I believe the Alpine A110 GT4 is in the game. I didn't know there actually was a GT4 car for that. But there's also a McLaren 570 GT4 and a couple of returning GT4 cars like the Cayman GT4 and a few other cars as well. But what does concern me is that there are a lot of, the GT3 cars that we do see, they were all in the last game with the same liveries, because the pack is being led by a Nissan GT-R GT3, which was in the last game. Further behind it, you can see a Cadillac GT3, which has been in the game since Project Cars 1, and I would have thought that if there were new GT3 cars added to the field, that old cars like that would have been bumped out. So it's a bit concerning to see that there's still that car in the game, and maybe they've not added anything to the GT3 field at all. That said, the GT3 field in Project Cars 2 was quite good, but it'd be nice to see some new stuff. And I would have at least thought that they would have updated the cars that are in their game to the current generation, because a couple of seconds later you see that the Porsche 911 GT3R that was in Project Cars 2 with the exact same livery is also still in the game. I would have thought that maybe it would have been updated to its newer generation. Now, I think that it's good that they beefed up the GT4 field. It's nice to have a few more cars there. But the fact that there's no new GT3 cars in the trailer, that's concerning for those of us who like these simulator-style games. What we do like, though, is the next couple of shots, which has the Corvette C8, the new Corvette C8.R GT-LM in it, and that's a great addition to the GTE field. I love how they've updated it a little bit. But again, in terms of race cars that are in the game, that's the only thing that excites. There's no new GT3 cars in the trailer. There's no other new race cars in the trailer. In fact, the trailer is mostly focused on road cars, which is a characteristic of sim-cade games. Now, Project Cars 2 is one of the only sim games on console, and if we're seeing a departure from the simulator games to more of a sim-cade game that more people are going to buy, obviously, we want people to buy these games to actually keep the franchise alive, but it feels like they may be abandoning the fans that have been so loyal to the series by, actually choosing to have more of a greater focus on road cars and road racing. There's nothing that seems to be new here on that front. Other than that, though, we don't know too much about the game, other than the fact that it's being released in summer of 2020, which is, of course, I believe it's obviously referring to the Northern Hemisphere summer, which means that the game is probably going to be released in the next couple of months, either June or August. And it's weird that the announcement trailer is being dropped so close to the release of the game. Maybe it's just to keep hype up towards the actual release of the game, because the Project Cars 2 announcement trailer was released in February, and the game in 2017, and came out in September of 2017. So I think that's an interesting. I think that's just interesting. I don't really know if that really means anything significant, but that's just the case, and I guess it would be nice to have a new Project Cars game in the next couple of months. So, what do I like about the trailer? I like the GT4 field. I like the new Corvette. I like, obviously, Interlagos. I guess I sort of like the customization because, you know, it does actually give you something to do on the road car front, because I just didn't really enjoy using the road cars at all. Maybe they can find a way for me to enjoy it. What I don't like about this trailer is that there was so much of an emphasis on the road cars instead of the actual proper track racing. It was more than a minute before we saw them. I don't like how... Well, I don't like how there's a lack of new GT3 cars. And a lack of new race cars in this trailer. I'm not sure if they're going to announce more new race cars closer to the release date, and if this is just a teaser. But for a race fan, other than the Corvette, it doesn't really excite me. I mean, I guess the GT4 field is really good. I'm actually looking forward to driving cars like the McLaren 570 GT4, but as a hardcore motorsport fan, there just doesn't seem... There's nothing in this trailer that really excites me. And I think, as we all feared, it looks like Project Cars is going more towards a sim-cade type of game. I'm not sure if they're keeping all the stuff that you know, made the sim racing aspect of Project Cars 2 so good in that. But it doesn't look like they're going to expand on that at all. And... maybe it will almost just be like, you know, Project Cars 2 with customization for the road cars, which almost feels like Project Cars 2.5, and it's not really Project Cars 3. But then again, while this trailer doesn't bring anything new to the forefront, I mean, I'm excited about a couple of things, but, you know, the fact that, you know, it has a lot of sim-cade vibes, that doesn't really excite me. That doesn't really make me happy. But I guess it's too early on to tell. And I think we're just going to have to wait to see what this game is going to be like. I'm sure I'll come up with more information as we get close to the release date. So, overall thought, the trailer, yeah, had some things I like about it in it, but it also raises some major alarm bells, and it might be the sort of the death of the hardcore sim racer Project Cars that we've come to know. And I guess that's going to do it from me. If they drop any more trailers, I'll be sure to give those an analysis as well. I hope you've enjoyed. Leave any of your thoughts in the comments below. Do you like this sort of analysis style video? Do you, you know, want something a bit more scripted? Do you want a reaction video to maybe a later trailer that comes out? What do you think of the game so far? I think I already know what most of you are going to say. You say, oh, it's not a sim, you know, it's not a proper simulator, and I'm probably not going to get it. But I think it's a little bit too early to judge. So, on that note, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.